Stay on.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of The Cut. I'm your host, Christian Williams, and I am here with Randy Hall. Randy, how are you, man?
Doing good, man. It didn't work today, so just basically try to finish off this list and already jumpstart stuff for Friday because I was impatient and I wanted to get on it already. But relaxing, enjoying a good beer, you know.
There you go.
Shout out our alumni, Ryan Permianos from Wrecking Crew, Brewworks,
Very
and Medina, killing it.
Very nice. If you're in Ohio, go check that out. Medina is in Ohio, so that is a prerequisite.
That was like the most text-to-speech description of Medina.
That's fantastic. I don't know much about Medina, but all right, guys, we are here to talk through running backs, the running backs of the 2022 NFL draft class. It's been a big debate today on Twitter, which is kind of timely. So hopefully, if you're tuning in, you can gain some info or just take something away from this as we talk through what we hope to be our top 10, what will end up being my top 18 I have listed, and Randy's top 14. So I'm sure we'll say something about all of those guys. Randy, overall thoughts before we're going to do a little bit of a combine preview as well. But overall thoughts on the running back class, like how are you feeling about this class?
I like the class. I think there's there's already a discussion of a big three, but I think one of these guys, at least by the 5-year window of this running back class, I think we'll be in that discussion or at the lead of the discussion possibly. We'll get into that obviously, but I think it's a really good class that could come in and make an impact, especially these top guys. I think they're geared, especially with where they land, to just really make an impact day one, and most of them do 3-down work and everything. So I think they're good fantasy assets. However, this isn't Jonathan Taylor, Swift, Dobbins, Clyde. Like, this is not that class. This isn't even last year's class with Najee and Javonte, in my opinion. But it is a good class. I don't even recall. Actually, while we get into this, I'm going to pull up and see where these guys actually rank.
Yeah. So if you guys want to go see my rankings versus at least last year's class, I haven't put together the last two classes yet, but that is on my Twitter. Search my username here and then running back or RB, I think, and then search by latest. It should be one of the closer ones to the top. But I have two of these guys ahead of Najee as RB 2 and 3 over the last 2 years. So I feel pretty good about two of them. And you got it.
Sorry. No, I thought you were done there. Didn't mean to cut you off. So I have Hall would be actually Hall and Spiller would be right above Jonathan Taylor for me.
Which we were lower on Jonathan Taylor. We should put that.
Yeah, we had Jonathan Taylor as a very top end second round. With a few dings in his armor. But I'm fine with that. I'll live with that. I still don't think we're necessarily wrong on that. Well, the things we dinged, I looking at this, because obviously it's a historical, so calling myself out for everything. It's fun. Be transparent. I think I wrongfully, harshly went against his patience, that he wasn't a patient runner in college because he didn't have to be. He just ran through people. And I probably should have at least think that up one point, and then he'd be a little bit higher up in this. But, yeah.
Well, honestly, man, in his rookie year for the first 8 weeks, he was the same type of runner.
It's exactly that. The hands I'm not going to ever backtrack on. I still don't think he has good hands. He doesn't need them. That's fine. And that's exactly what we said. And that's what we said. He was a great running back in the class. But
yeah. Which we'll get into breaking down some of what these prospects do really well in the 2022 class. But first, just a quick combine preview. It is combine week, guys. I know the NFL draft prospects are probably not excited, but everyone else is to watch the Underwear Olympics this week. The testing begins on Thursday. All of the interviews have already, I believe, started. I think they are maybe tomorrow they start. I don't remember the schedule off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was going to say, are they doing each position group? Are they doing all the testing as well as all the medicals in the same day? Or are they everyone's rotating in medicals starting today?
So I think they arrive in a tiered way. So Monday, the quarterbacks and wide receivers and tight ends, I believe, arrive today. And then I believe they go straight into medicals. And then tomorrow they do interviews while the other groups are doing their medicals and things like that.
That's what I thought it was. So we'll get some testing, measurable and all that stuff numbers tomorrow. I'm really hoping we don't get any big news this year about any prospects of health concerns or anything, because that's always, shitty. It's just, there's nothing you can do about it. And a lot of the times these guys don't know about it until they come here. It just kind of sucks.
Yeah. All eyes on Carson Strong's knee tomorrow morning, I think.
Yeah.
I think we might get a little bit of a leak. We don't always get all the medical info until later, but I think that one is such a pressing matter that I think we're going to get some info there.
Yeah. It's that one, Corral's ankle, Jamison Williams' knee, Pickens' knee,
ankle.
Drake London's knee.
Drake London's leg, I think
leg. Yeah, I was I don't remember which part of the leg is for him, but there's many guys in this, just in the pass catching and quarterback group, that just little dings and dunks we need to check in on that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up Drake London. So there's a lot of talk about guys that might not be running or testing, at least at the combine. Drake London has not hit that list yet. I'm intrigued to see if he decides to run. I think that shows A, he's going to get a good time, and B, he's healthy. I mean, he shouldn't be running if he's not 100%. And so that means that he'll check out and he'll be able to kind of show off that he's not a 4.7 guy, which I heard today and I tweeted about. That's not going to happen. He is not Kelvin Harmon out there. There's no chance. Now, if he does, we're going to look at Drake London a lot differently. And that's, I think what separates him from others is that he is a contested catch guy, but he also has a little bit of juice after the catch. If he's a 4.7 guy, he doesn't have that at the NFL level, at least. So, but we'll see.
No, but he also doesn't need to run 4.4. So.
No. He doesn't. I think he's a 4.5 guy, late 4.5, and that'd be adequate.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Unfortunately, he'll probably get some comparisons to N'Keal Harry with that kind of stuff, just by people looking at the pure numbers and not the players. But
yeah, some guys that opted out. Evan Neal, because of his long season, I believe, decided he wasn't going to be testing. He's doing medicals and interviews, right?
Yes, yeah. All these people on this list are going and doing everything. Okay. They're just not testing. And there could be more. Just when I made this part of the sheet, this is the three that stood out to me. So,
yeah. So Evan Neal, Derek Stingley Jr. There are rumors that this Liz Frank injury is a little worse than they're leading us to believe. Now, he says he's going to work out at his pro day. I get a little bit nervous. He's allegedly close to 100%. But he's missed a lot of time. So not being 100% by now makes me kind of question what we're looking at there, and if it kind of is going to hinder his athletic ability that makes him such a good cornerback, which we will get to in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 weeks. I don't know when we're doing cornerbacks. But and then Matt Corral said he's not throwing, which I assume that also means that he's not doing any of the athletic testing because it's an ankle injury. I don't think he was expected to do any of that anyway. But I get nervous that that's a worse injury than we thought too. I heard it was just a mild sprain at the time, and now if he's not healthy, it's been 3 months, 2 months.
Yeah, I think it came out when he said he wasn't throwing that he just started light throwing either last week or the week before as well. So I would assume it was more of a high ankle sprain, not a light ankle sprain, and I'm sure he's been a little, I actually rephrase that because I always said something mean. I think he's been like babying it on purpose. Like I think the team has been wanting him to, because you should, because like if you aren't perfectly ready for the combine, wait. If you but you better be ready by the pro day. You have to hit one of these. So
Yes.
I think I almost I almost just made it sound like I was dogging it. I'm not, because this is your livelihood, and if you're not 100%, don't risk it.
Right. On the other side of things, I think that he was a prospect that stood to gain the most from being out there. Someone questioned that mindset and said, well, maybe not showing off and just kind of being a little more secretive about what you are is beneficial at this point, because the last time that we saw a group of quarterbacks, they showed us all of their flaws on a pretty big stage. Now they showed some of their good things as well, but where do you stand on that, Randy?
I mean, again, I think he has to absolutely kill it at his pro day, because right now, at least for me, he's a tied quarterback one of the class, and I think he's some of the best dual threat we're going to get in this class. For me, the best, just pure dual threat, not just running or throwing. And I think, just standing there, he didn't have to separate throwing the ball from these guys. He just has to show he's as good as them throwing the ball, because it's not just that for Matt Corral. And honestly, that's where his some question marks lie for him. But it's more, I think we both kind of agreed, more scheme dependent kind of thing with Corral. Again, all he had to do is just be in competition. I think that's what helped somehow at the combine or at the Senior Bowl, showing how just strong his arm is, even with some sloppy mechanics. It showed that if simple little bit of coaching can go a long way with that kind of talent. And it's the same thing Malik Willis did, kind of. Kenny Pickett was consistent. It was just all that. They all got a chance to show the flaws, but also show they belonged. And Corral just hasn't really had that shot. So yeah, it's a calculated risk not doing this, but I mean he better be ready, because he's only got another 2 weeks to be perfectly ready for his pro day. And he's gonna have to do every test if he wants to go in the first.
Yeah, I mean, he especially has to show. Now, I will say, I think he's also a guy that interviews are super important, because there have been some character concerns. I've heard a few interviews of his, and I don't love what I hear all the time, which also, maybe plays a part in my grade. Maybe I get some bias based on some of that character stuff, but those things matter with quarterbacks, especially. So I don't know. We don't need to spend all night on
No.
Matt Corral, because we're going to talk about 27 running backs right now.
Yeah. But quickly, is there any people that are actually participating so far besides Drake London that you're absolutely just dying to see here? Just some standouts for you.
So I think Sky Moore, he's one of my favorite players in the class, but there's rumors that he runs 4.5s. I've heard that he's hitting high 4.3s in training and low 4.4s consistently. If he runs low 4.4s, I have no concern. Someone did a nice little breakdown of him, saying how, on 9 routes, he doesn't get a lot of separation. He has all that quick separation with his release. But if he runs 4.4s, I think he can pull away at the next level. So
yeah, I don't think he fully trusted on the deep balls either, getting that full distance with the full speed as well. So I saw that with a lot of guys so far, where they go deep, but they also they keep the DB there in case they have to maneuver around him, kind of thing, not just full burn. Jameson Williams could do that, and Olave and Wilson and Burks at times, but not everyone, unfortunately. But
yeah, that's very true. He's one I did want to add. Jeremy Ruckert opted out of testing and everything, which is a huge bummer. I think there might be some injury related things there, or
ironically, I would hope so, because
right. I mean, unless he feels like he's done enough to be the tight end one, because he has this shot at this point.
I don't think he has, though.
I don't think so either.
I think there's a lot of up for grabs in that tight end group. That's why, it's the same with the running back group. I think everyone should test. I think Stingley not testing gives Sauce and Booth a huge chance here to leapfrog him completely if they haven't already in some people's boards. So it's the same thing again, like we talked about Corral. I don't think Neal's going to be too worried. Everyone knows he's kind of an athletic freak. But again, it could give someone else the chance to leap.
Yeah, I will say all of the edges, I'm excited to see how they run.
Yeah, especially the edge class.
I want to see Ojabo. I don't know if he's going to run for sure, but like, let's see it. And then the last player I wanted to mention is Charles Cross. I think Charles Cross has a very, very good opportunity to kind of show what type of athlete he actually is. Everyone knows he's an athlete. It doesn't always show up on his film. And so I think his athletic testing matters a little bit.
Yeah, I think like Sauce is someone I'm excited to really get through for this. Especially some of the footwork stuff, because that's really his like only flaw right now as far as the games I've watched. So there's guys like that. I think the guy we're going to talk about here, Kenneth Walker, I think he can do great things for himself with not only the 40 time and the short shuttle and all that, but just going through the receiving drill, just showing, hey, yeah, I know, I get it, but the ball does land in my hands.
Right.
I don't just catch it like sucking in all the air I can and trying to get all the frame I can in my stomach to catch it. Like,
right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a good shout. I'm so excited for the combine. It's back after a year hiatus, and that's the exciting thing. Will it be the same? Who knows? We're about to find out, though, this week.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the running backs. We broke down some of our general thoughts. Randy did. I do want to say I agree. There is no Jonathan Taylor. There's not even a Javonte Williams in this group. But like I said, the top two, I'm pretty confident in that they can be like 3-down workhorse type of backs that can lead a backfield. Aside from that, I think we're looking at a lot of role players or third down backs or just guys that may force their way onto the field. But the reason I bring this up again is because I think that this is going to be the modern NFL. I think you're going to see a ton of these guys drafted because teams are going to be using committees. We know that. Even the Colts used a committee at times last year, a little less so than the year before, but committees are the future because of the extra game and the 18th game that will be coming soon. So all these guys matter in some form or fashion.
Yeah. And, committee is always a scary word for running backs. But just because it's a committee for some of these top guys, that doesn't mean they don't still get 70, 80, 90% of the work. It just means they're not getting 100% of the work. Right. I think those days are incredibly numbered in the league.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Without further ado, let's finally dive into our 2022 running backs. And we're just going to start from the top. Both of us have Reece Hall graded as our RB1, 6'1", 220 out of Iowa State. He's a junior, 4-star recruit. He pretty much forced his way onto the field as a freshman and then never looked back. Incredibly productive from the moment he set foot at Iowa State. Randy, talk to me about Reece Hall's strengths.
Yeah, so he's not like the most athletic one in this class. I'm really, the running back class is one of the ones for this combine that I'm really hoping all of them test, because I think that may be able to give us some separators in these athleticism grades, because we have them all so close to each other because it's a running back position. They're athletic people, but like Hall wins a lot with non-athleticism moves and just vision and contact balance and footwork and patience and being just overall elusive with some good contact balance. So he's not going to absolutely kill you with like long speed. I think he does have some good burst, but overall I would say his hands, contact balance, footwork, and patience, for me at least, is what really separates him. Not necessarily from everyone in the class, because I think a lot of people can do all these stuff really good, but he doesn't have a negative. He doesn't have anything bad, really. It's just he's one of the ones in this class that can break away, but isn't known for long speed. That's his biggest negative, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's definitely 3-down back at the next level.
Yeah, so I'm in a few different group chats. I like talking football, clearly. Um,
What?
Today, one of my takes is that long speed is the most overrated thing about a running back. There aren't too many home run hitting running backs in the NFL. You know, you've got your Saquon Barkley, you've got your Nick Chubb, you've got your Jonathan Taylor, clearly. But then the list starts to kind of get a little muddied. Like, is Antonio Gibson a home run hitter? I'd argue no. He's really fast, but is a safety going to catch him at the NFL level? Yes. I mean, Nick Chubb gets caught. Saquon Barkley
Mhm.
gets caught. So long speed, while I think it's valuable to have it, I don't know that it's like the most important thing. Now,
No.
that's also what makes these guys not Jonathan Taylor. So it's interesting
Yeah.
to see kind of that dynamic. Um, I did want to echo. So I think Reece is an incredibly patient runner. And a lot of people will say that he's more hesitant than patient, but I don't think that's the case at all. I've seen him wait for a block to develop while like he's got incoming tacklers and he's just kind of standing there waiting for the blocks to develop and he doesn't care. He knows he can break those tackles because he's got pretty good contact balance and he just goes as soon as the hole opens up, as soon as the blocks land, he goes. And I think that like burst is way more valuable than the long speed. And so um, that's why I feel pretty good about Brees being a workhorse at the next level.
Yeah, he just wins, plain and simple. Uh, again, if you win, if you do the right things from 0 to 15 yards, which he does, and most of these guys do, that that extra bit where maybe you get caught after 50 yards, or maybe you get caught after 60, or maybe you get tripped up, but you still score after 70. Like, I'm okay with that. If you're consistently getting the 10 to 15, I don't care. Because if you're doing that, you're going to stay in the field and you're going
Yeah.
to keep going and you're going to give me touchdowns. And I think Hall, especially like we said, with committees being the future of the NFL running back room, which will also keep the pay down, by the way.
Yeah.
That's why if you tell me Kenneth Walker is the best pure running back of these top guys, I could probably agree with you. But plain and simple, I'm not picking him over these top two guys for me because I I don't think he can efficiently stay on the field for all three downs right now, at least. And I'm going to take the safe bet when it comes to a fantasy draft in these dynasty rookie drafts. I'm going to take Brees
Yeah.
because it's just the hands are safety. I know he's going to get me points every week. I know he's going to get me at least 3 or 4 catches every week to subsidize. Maybe he doesn't get that 80-yard run, but he has 80 yards and 4 catches, and I'm happy.
Right. And two, you know, this is a draft podcast. It's also a fantasy podcast, but pass blocking matters a whole lot. And that that trait of Kenneth Walker's is completely absent right now. I don't
Yeah.
think that he has that. Now, does he have the tools to do it? Probably. He needs some coaching. And the difference for me is that Brees and Spiller have the frame and they have some technique to it. And I think that
Yeah.
that's going to keep them on the field earlier.
Yeah, I saw some good things. I didn't see anything concerning in the pass blocking aspect from Hall. Not that he was asked to do it a lot. Usually it'd be like a check and release more. Um, the most frequent block I saw him do was more of a cut block on a pure blitzer, which I'm perfectly fine with. And sure, the athletic freaks can get around it or jump over, but he's gonna be able to, work with that. I didn't give him a plus for blocking, but
Yeah.
I think, like you said, I think he could do it, and there's at least coachability to add to his frame to make it even better.
Yeah, for sure. Any parting notes on Brees?
No, no.
Okay. Let's move on to our consensus RB2 that we've already talked about. Isaiah Spiller, 6'1", 215, so similar frame, a little bit lighter. Out of Texas A&M, he's a junior. Another guy, four-star recruit, actually recruited a little bit more he was more highly regarded in the 2019 class. I believe he was the RB9 in that recruiting class, and Reece was somewhere in the 20s, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. Spiller's another guy. He came in and he was just productive. Now, the level of production at Texas A&M in the SEC versus the level of production that Reece Hall saw at Iowa State in the Big 12 is obviously a little different. The competition amongst his teammates was a lot different. And so what you're going to hear a lot is that Isaiah Spiller, he wasn't able to be a workhorse at the college level. So that's going to be a knock for him. And my argument is that it's not. My argument is that he has fresher legs than just really Reece and Kenneth Walker, I think, and maybe even Kyron Williams when we get there. He has a lot less mileage on him because he was able to be in a committee. We already know that he can operate in a committee, so I see that as a positive. Randy, thoughts on that? Plus, give me what he does well.
Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily has less miles than Walker, mainly because Walker's really only had like 1 year of a workhorse role. But other than that, I completely, I mean, and it's close, obviously, but I completely agree with the rest of it. I think he's equally as good as a pass catcher as Reece, so there's no drop off there. I think he wins a little bit differently. He can win and has some good contact balance, but I think he's just a little bit more elusive than Hall. And I think they're pretty much the only. I would say I think he's a little bit more elusive than Hall. I think he's less patient, and he's a little bit. I think his vision's a little bit less, but again, less reps and contact balance a little bit less. But I just think Hall has worked into his frame more with the contact balance stuff. Where again, Spiller's more elusive. He tries to win that way more than the power game. So
yeah, I will say I think I have Spiller's footwork as okay. I have them at the same, but
same.
I would argue that Spiller took strides with his footwork as he progressed. A lot of people are saying, well, Isaiah Spiller, he had the same level of production each year, and it wasn't elite, but he got better. And he also kind of showed, hey, I'm committed to this. I want to say he cut at least 5 pounds of fat off of him, because not that he was a fat guy or anything like that, but like he looks like a completely different back. He looks more lean. He looks more elusive. He kind of said, this is the type of player I want to be. And so he framed his body that way. And I think that's a positive as well, while still having a really nice frame to carry a workload. He's never been asked to do it, but I don't have questions that he could be a 3-down type of back. I agree. I think his short area burst is actually better than Reece Hall's as well. They're both just not the most athletic guys. We talk about the combine at the beginning here. I think both of these guys run in the 4.5s, and I think Spiller has a chance to get late 4.4s if he cuts some more off. Spiller's less, I would say he has less speed on the field than Reece, but the short area burst stuff is what matters. Anyway, so let's not get hung up on the 40 time too much.
No, and those questions will be answered, so it's all good.
Right.
My biggest thing with Spiller, in August we were at the expo for fantasy, and just in one meeting, you as well as multiple other people in the Demi world were ultra concerned about a lot of things in Spiller, and then I dig deeper this year because of that and different conversations I saw on Twitter and everywhere else. And I think we either saw improvement or I didn't see the concerning stuff necessarily. So I think that's a plus to him. Maybe he didn't get this huge rise in production, but he still gained value this year, and it's rightful claim to have a chance to be the RB1 coming off the board this year.
Yeah, and I'll say they are within 1/10 of a point in my scale. They are truly 1A and 1B, and there's a shot that Spiller ends up my 1.
He's under a full point below Hall, so it's very close.
Yeah, and I will say too, I don't know what I was going to say, so I'm not going to say it anymore. I lost. I was trying to think of the train because I know the train has shown up,
Listen,
which is fantastic. No, I do think, as much as I say let's not get hung up on 40 times, I think it will be the separator, like you kind of alluded to earlier. I think if Spiller's relative athletic score ends up a point or two higher than Breece, which I actually think it might be the opposite, but who knows at this point, then I think that we could say, okay, well, this guy's a little more athletic. They're very similar builds. They're very similar prospect profiles. I'm going to go with the guy that has a little more juice to him or a little more wiggle or whatever it is. So we need a graphic to put up when there's a train and it just goes across the screen for the people who watch. But all right, let's move on to our RB3. Randy, this is your RB3 as well, right?
If
Kenneth
it's Walker, then yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to. So yes, we both have Kenneth Walker at RB3. Kenneth Walker, 5'9", 205, Michigan State junior, 3-star recruit, same class as the other two. Went to Wake Forest initially, posted 579 yards in each of his first 2 seasons, but his second season was a little less efficient. The Wake Forest offense is the most disgusting thing you'll ever watch, so I don't recommend going to watch that film, but it is kind of vital to kind of seeing the full picture of what Kenneth Walker is. But he really broke out at Michigan State this year, and you can argue that he was the best running back in all of college football. Just a very, very pure runner, like Randy said. You guys can't see, but Randy was definitely scoffing at that last statement.
Listen, when Bijan Robinson is in college football, you can't say shit like this.
That's true. But Walker was fantastic. Some of the things that Walker does well, burst. I think, he's a little more athletic. No, I think he's quicker. I think he's got a little more actual speed to him than the other two that we've already talked about. I do question his vision pretty significantly. I think he shows good vision, but he doesn't trust it. It's kind of like what we talked about with the quarterbacks that are kind of looking in the right spot, but just hesitant to go there. That's kind of what I see out of Kenneth Walker as well. But when he bounces it outside in college, obviously, that works really, really well. He likes to bounce it outside. Randy, what do you see as good things about Kenneth Walker and some bad things?
Yeah, so I think he's got really good contact balance. I think his footwork is vastly improved this year. I think that's been his standout point of the year. I actually have him graded footwork higher than our top 2 running backs here. So I think that says a lot there. And like you said, I think he's very elusive. I think he's explosive at times. I think he has better bursts than those guys as well in the short areas. But the negatives for him is he's not as big as those guys, really. He's about the same weight, but he's not as big. And then there's vision concerns. It's all of my major concerns besides passing work all stems, in my opinion, from his time at Wake. And he may be continuing to get past those limitations, but those are vision, patience, which is an asset for him, but also a detriment. And then, just overall, the overwhelming need for him to bounce it outside. Just like last year where we were knocking Zach Wilson for trying to roll out too much and do his little spin pirouette bullshit way too often when he just had clean pockets. It's the same thing. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not going to work the same amount at the next level. I know he played in a tough division this year and he did it and he played super well. So I get it. There's less concerns. And I think that's very, very fair. That's why I'm not knocking those categories as much, but there's still some concern there. And I think another years, more good coaching can clean up some of the little bad habits he got, especially in the patience factor. I personally, I would like to have him the same patience grade as Hall, but some of it I'm still concerned is this laid back running style of Wake where they just get handed the ball and then seemingly sit down a chair for a whole like 5 seconds before they pick a hole, which usually wasn't the right hole. I had to watch one of the games just to like see what was
Yeah,
so terrible, and I wish I didn't. But
it
besides
scars you.
all that, so I think he can work through that, and I think he did a great job of that with some fantastic coaching at Michigan State, who I think will continue to pump out good running backs because of that. His
Yeah.
hands. So he actually caught a ton of balls in high school. That's what everyone's going to keep telling you, because it's a fact. But if you're the best player in your team, you get the ball
Exactly.
regardless of how it works. So I want to see it. And that's why I think this combine is enormous for Kenneth Walker. Because say he runs the exact same or slightly better in some of these cone drills and 40 than these top two guys. And then he goes out in this passing drill and shows some good stuff and shows that, hey, yeah, I can actually catch the ball. And even if you just like, I have his hands at 5.5 right now because I was trying to be conservative because we just really haven't seen it. I wanted to give him a 5, and I was like, benefit of the doubt because of the high school thing, 5.5.
Yeah.
If we see just decent hands, I'd feel confident bumping this up to a 6. I also have half a point taken away because of this kind of bullshit. So that's a full point up. Maybe it's just he gets a athleticism point up. He's right in the mix for the RB1 then. So there's a lot of good things with Walker. Worst case, he goes to the NFL and is paired with a receiving back or just a pure bursty receiving back that just comes in third downs and he kills it the rest of the time. I think he can really do a lot of good things for you. He's not going to get taken out of the goal line, that's for fucking sure. So there's a ton of touchdown upside. I think he's going to be a good pick for fantasy.
I do get nervous because when I watch him, I think of 2019 Ronald Jones, which was when I first started getting onto Ronald Jones, where uh,
How dare you just destroy the man's reputation like that?
I know, I'm
He's
sorry.
not even going to get drafted now, Christian.
Listen, Ronald Jones was a second round pick, and Ronald Jones has this kind of talent. I think,
He does.
some of the vision concerns are similar with Ronald Jones. I think Ronald Jones definitely put on some weight since he got to the NFL, but as a prospect, he was a little smaller or thinner at least. He can't catch, he can't pass block, still can't.
Don't have a
And
job. So
you're right. And so I worry that that's kind of like what we're looking at for Kenneth Walker's outlook moving forward. And maybe he's not. Maybe he shows that he can be a little more viable in a pass catching role. But yeah, some of the vision and just like decision making. We don't like technically have that as a
it's
grade here.
vision. I mean, it's a
Right.
mixture of vision and patience.
That's
So
kind of what I say as well. Like if you have good vision and you don't take advantage of it, then you don't have good vision. So,
exactly.
uh, but yeah, I think you're right that it stems from some of that Wake Forest stuff. So hopefully he can get it coached out of him. Most
Yeah.
NFL draft folks have him as the RB1 in this class and think that he'll be drafted as such. So
I will say purely though, his the worst game to really expose him was Ohio State. They got rid of. They didn't let him bounce outside, and then they got up, so they had to throw the ball. So their best weapon was on the bench.
yeah,
And if that's the case in the NFL, like Derrick Henry, even when they're down 20, isn't off the fucking field.
yeah,
They're still going to run Derrick Henry at least 5 times that drive.
yeah.
So I hopefully Kenneth Walker can get that kind of uh, potential in the NFL, just purely running the ball. But again, this is going to be a big week for him.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we need to move on to our
Yes.
next running back, and our next one. Now we'll call this. We haven't figured out the consensus for sure
Well,
because my this is not.
your four is my 5, right?
Yeah, and your 4 is Kyron, and
Wait, aren't
my
these two tied for you?
no,
I swear I saw that.
I
Maybe that's your
have
total. Maybe that's your grade before production.
maybe. Maybe, but either way, Kyron's my RB5, and he's your RB4. He probably ends up our consensus 4. Kyron Williams, small little guy, 5'9", 199, out of Notre Dame, redshirt sophomore. I think he ended up redshirting his first year. Either way, he's been in college for 3 years. He was a 4-star recruit. I believe he fell somewhere in the same range as Reece Hall as a recruit out of high school. A guy that he did not step onto a field and be immediately productive. He sat behind Tony Jones as a freshman. Now, is this more Brian Kelly not wanting to play freshman? Probably, because Kyron's better than Tony Jones, but it is still a different approach compared to the other guys. Randy, talk to me about what Kyron does well. I think I'm going to probably tear him apart compared to you. So.
He does everything well, Christian. That's the key. So there's a lot of size concerns with Kyron. We see it right here. 5'9", 199. He's 5'9", 200. Kenneth Walker, 5'9", 210. Yeah, that's 10 pounds.
Yeah.
10 pounds, especially with NFL teams and coaching staff, nutritionists, where they have to be within a 3 to 5 pound weight limit, or you get fined $1,000. It's a real thing. I'm not really concerned about his weight because whoever drafts him wants him to play at whatever weight they want, and he's going to dominate at that weight. So I'm not that concerned about the size things. I will say, obviously what we've talked about, like contact balance, he's clearly lower. He's tied with the lowest contact balance grade I have, and that's mainly because he doesn't win like that. Now, can he take a hit and bounce off? Yeah. Can he stumble and get back up? Yeah. Is he going to do that every play? No, no, because that's not how he wins, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone wins at a different level. I have him tied. I have all these top 4 tied with athleticism grades because I'm waiting for the combine to get a little bit more information on all that stuff, just pure nitpicking wise. But again, I think contact balance, and I would say also vision necessarily are his worst 2 traits of these ones that we grade. And his vision's not bad at all, but comparative to the other guys, because he does other things and he's definitely more of a receiving back than just pure burst up the middle kind of guy. He just doesn't have the full traits yet. And I think he can get that. I think the peak for Kyron Williams, obviously, rightfully comped, is going to be Austin Ekeler. But what people are forgetting about Austin Ekeler is, yeah, he's fucking a god right now. But that took 2 years for him really to even matter. And then he was in a 50-50 timeshare where he didn't fully matter, not to this fucking level. So
Exactly.
I think that's why I said in 5 years, I think Kyron might be the best running back of this class on a fantasy ranking sheet because of what he does. But I don't think he's ever going to lose his job because I am as the best pass catcher in this class. Easy. I don't have him as like 10 with hands or nothing. I think he's a 9. But like he is really, really good in that aspect. He's the best third down back in this draft class, bar none for me. And mainly that's because not only is he explosive with good long speed and burst and some pretty good patience, but my God, can he fucking block? He is. I 2 people in my grades have a half point concerned bonus, whatever, for blocking, and he's one of them. And honestly, he's got a full point of bonus because he's just so good on third down. It is so effing impressive. He clearly is drafted. He's playing day one, no matter what. He's going to have a role, even if it's at worst James White. I don't give a shit for 3 years. Kyron Williams is really, really good. And, that blocking ability for a running back, it is so undervalued when we're talking about these like little traits and everything. But a coach is going to absolutely love this kid. And if he can just simply work on different things, mainly with vision and maybe putting on 5 pounds, maybe like this kid's going to really tear it up because of it, like he's got the footwork, he's got the hands, he's got some pretty good elusiveness and everything. I think he can really tear it up to the next level, and it's going to probably be our ceiling comp. I'm not going to give away like anything because it's not in stone yet, but it is the perfect ceiling comp for him as Austin Ekeler because before Austin Ekeler, there wasn't anyone really like Austin Ekeler.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, I have him exactly tied with Kenneth Walker.
Okay. All right. So I was higher on Kyron before this year. I actually had him at my 2. I had Spiller at 1, Kyron at 2, Reece at 3. I preface that because some of the thing now I don't maybe he was playing with injury or maybe the level of competition increased a little bit, but and I feel like I'm the only one that sees this, so maybe I'm off base and maybe I'm wrong. But Kyron Williams at times in 2021 struggled to get the edge. And what I mean by that, so he would bounce it outside because of his poor vision. He would do the Kenneth Walker, and then what he would have to do when he got to the edge is stiff arm or break a tackle. And while that was effective for him and it allowed for some chunk plays at the college level, I worry that he is not going to be able to do that thing at the NFL level. So we talk about testing a lot. His testing matters. If he shows me he does have that burst, he does have the ability to kind of laterally move, be agile, get to the outside quickly, then maybe I feel a little bit better about him. But right now, I worry that he's going to bounce it outside. He's going to see a TJ Watt, and TJ Watt is not getting stiff armed by a 5'9", 199-pound guy. So
Well,
and
you say
again,
that, but these guys do bench press too. We'll see
I
how
know
close it is. I'm just saying.
it's true. Yeah, Kyron to me, if he didn't have that concern, and that is like my main concern, is how athletic is he actually at that size? If I didn't have that concern, I would probably have him at my 4. I mean, he's already close, but and again, I'm the only one that sees that. I'm the only one that says that. What Randy said, all of that was correct. Great footwork. That's what stood out to me, especially on his 2020 film. And I think the pass catching work and the pass blocking are elite. His pass blocking is elite. I don't think I remember a 5'9" running back that could do that. Maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I don't even think he was pass blocking in that nature. I think he was more just a bowling ball out there.
Yeah.
I get worried. But again, we're going to find out more this week. So it's not something that this take is for sure locked in or anything like that.
No.
I do get worried about that stuff.
No, and it's rightfully so. So I don't remember Austin Eckler's college stats, and for that same extent, Kamara's college stats, who I know didn't play as much as we would have hoped. I think he would have went a little bit higher in the draft if so. But I mean, just this last year, he had in the NFL, obviously 16 games, 206 rushing yards, 206 attempts, 911 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, 70 receptions, 647 and 8 touchdowns. Kyron Williams, 204 for 1,014 touchdowns, 42 receptions, 359, and 3 touchdowns. And he's getting 5 yards a carry, getting almost 9 yards of reception. Like there's a reason the fantasy community is so excited about Kyron, and I hope the NFL shows the same kind of excitement because I think he is a weapon. But we'll see. That could be the nail in the coffin too. Maybe he goes in the 4th round, and everyone else goes ahead of him, and the NFL doesn't think he can run the ball. Who knows? But I think that's not going to happen. But it's the NFL, so.
Yeah, they do weird stuff. Michael Carter was a 4th round pick last year. So,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's move on to my RB4, your RB5, and that is Damian Pierce. Damian Pierce, 5'9", 212 out of Florida. He was a senior this last year. He participated at the Senior Bowl and was very, very impressive there. Damian Pierce stood out to me. I was really high on him. He was my RB3 at one point in my process, and then I watched a little more Kenneth Walker so that I wasn't a full psychopath. But the things that stood out to me about Damian Pierce, violent runner, very good. I wouldn't say I keep bringing up decision making, and maybe we need to make it part of our grading, but a good decision maker. I don't think he's the most patient runner in the world, but I think that his contact balance and his short area burst is near the top of the class. I think he is a very, very good running back in terms of pure runners. Randy, what did you see out of Damien that you liked?
I mean, this is a guy that I really didn't dive into his film right off the bat because of, I was getting through all these other big names, and it really wasn't that big a deal. But the Senior Bowl just shot him up my to-do list. He's not the most athletic running back. I think I actually have him the lowest athleticism so far of these grades, but he does everything pretty well. Great contact balance, really good hands, obviously a 3-down potential. He just isn't the best athlete, and I think that's really his trait that is going to lag him down, and that's why this week is huge for him to gain ground on these top guys, because I think he's a little bit less elusive than some of them, has the same burst or better, good patience, not great, but good footwork, good hands, good contact balance, pretty good vision. So as long as the athleticism stuff checks out, I think he's going to be rising up a lot of people's boards. I think a lot of people have him anywhere from mid to late day 2 to early day 3 right now. I think good athleticism scores will shoot him into guaranteed day 2 territory, and I think that's rightfully so. I think he's a really good talent. And I mean, he's not in the same echelon as the top 4 guys for me, but it's not a detriment to him. It's just he's a really good back, and I don't think he really needs a complimentary back where some of the other ones do. So that's a good thing for him.
Yeah, and he showed that he's a good pass catcher. I think after the catch too is where he does a lot of damage. He reminds me of Reece in that nature, but I do think that Pierce actually offers a little bit more in terms of what he can do after the catch. Do you want to address that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Kayla, we are not doing a mock tonight, but we are actually doing a mock for our next Monday show, as well as talking through some of the combine stuff. So tune into that, please, and hopefully we can give your favorite team a good pick. But yeah, that is our next show, actually, next Monday, not Friday.
Yeah, correct. The other thing I wanted to say about Damian Pierce. So all of these guys do different things, right? Reece is better with contact balance than he is elusiveness. Isaiah Spiller is more elusive. Kenneth Walker is kind of a mixture of both, but I would say he's more of the contact balance type of guy.
Yeah.
When I watch Damian Pierce, the way he's able to make people miss in a phone booth while also being able to truck someone, lose your helmet, and still put it in the end zone, even though that was illegal and he wasn't allowed to, and he got flagged for it. That is what stands out to me, is that he's a complete running back that can win in multiple ways. And NFL circles love this guy. I think he's going to sneak into day 2, which is going to make me wheels up on him.
Yeah, I think for him, because he's not, at least as of the tape, not as good as athletes as these top guys, and some of the guys below him, honestly, he's a candidate to be that like burn brightly and shortly kind of guy, unfortunately, just because he might just get the NFL is just getting fucking faster. That's all it's doing. So there's a chance he might be out athleticism in 6 years, but I think he can really do some damage on your worst your flex role for fantasy for the future.
Yeah. All right. So we talked for a long time on these first 5. So what we're going to do from here, we were going to talk through top 10 and then get to the rest. Randy, pick a guy out of your 6 through 10 that you want to talk about. We're going to talk about one guy from each of our lists. So we'll hit on 2 more, then we'll just list out the rest and kind of give some notes.
Let me quickly look at your 6 through 10. Looks like I'm higher on almost everyone. So that's not true. Fun. Why don't you pick one first so I can pivot off of yours, because I know one of these guys is different than yours, but that's it.
That sounds good. So we've talked about the small guys. We've talked about, maybe some of the guys that are average athletes. I want to talk about Tyler Algiere really quickly. Yeah, I figured that was going to be the guy you picked, so I wanted to steal him from you.
That's fair.
So to me, Tyler Algiere has the most to lose at the combine. He has the most to gain at the combine. Tyler Algiere is a bursty, the long speed, people are talking about how he runs in the 4.3s. I don't see that on film. I see a 4.4 player probably, but 4.4 at his size is impressive. I don't think Tyler Algiere has enough wiggle. I don't think he's the most elusive guy, but when you watch him run, his running style is similar to a guy that plays in Cleveland. He's not the level of athlete that Nick Chubb is, but the way he runs and the way he plays the game is very, very similar. So if you get him into a zone scheme, I think that he could be he's 9th on my list. And I think that there's a world in which Tyler Algiere becomes the best pure runner in this class. Do you see that as an outcome for him, Randy?
Yeah, it's a chance. He was definitely one of the guys I was considering. This is one of the guys that could be the winners of the combine, like you said. If he just tests good athletically, he's going to kill it. And same thing with Kenneth Walker. If we see, like I have him graded highly with hands, but if we just see it, actually I don't have. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I have him the same grade as him with hands. If we just see that extra little bit, that can raise him up even more because he is the other guy that I have with getting a good boost, that half-point boost with his just phenomenal pass blocking. He's got some. The main concern for me is obviously some 3-down work there, but it seemed like the more he got touches, the more he fumbled and the more like little slip-ups he made. So I think he needs a little bit cleanup in that category. And he's not necessarily the most elusive guy. He wins in a different way, but he's not a bad athlete.
Yeah, and we're gonna see what type of athlete he is. So I just wanted to mention him as someone who you should keep an eye on for sure. If you're watching the combine, like the degenerates that we are, we will be tuned in every night, I'm sure, in some form or fashion. Randy, you want to pick a guy from your list?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with James Cook. We've been talking. I'm clearly the little guy lover of the podcast today, so I'm gonna take him because I have him as one of the most athletically gifted running backs of the class, at least as of this moment. And yeah, he's 5'11", 5'10", and no 5'11", right? Yeah,
5'11", 190, I believe.
Yeah, and then 190. So yeah, so he's got some weight concerns, but not height concerns. And again, 5'10" pounds, he's a god. So I'm not really that concerned of that right now. He
Who's he
doesn't win with
related
contact.
to? Who's he related to?
I think everyone can guess that.
Yeah. Dalvin Cook. He's related to Dalvin. It's his brother, his younger brother.
It's all they're going to talk about for the ESPN draft. So
it's going to be terrible.
I hope to God they don't have cancer in the family. So I don't want to hear that either.
Yeah,
but
ESPN.
He's an extremely bursty, right coming out of the draft, like coming into the draft, 3rd down role kind of guy, with some of the ability to run through the middle, clearly as we saw with Georgia, with a pure split role that they had there. But contact balance is not a strong suit. I would say patience isn't really a strong suit because he's so athletic and so just absolutely bursty and has the second best long speed of the class. Almost misspoke there. He just wins with pure speed. And that's really where he just absolutely kills you. He's got good vision. He's got great hands. I have him the second best hands in the class, only behind Kyron. And I think it's because Kyron was able to get more work, and that's really the only separator there for me, and just pure route running kind of stuff like that. But he is just very, very good. He's got the long speed and everything is really a separator for me, and it's really the only reason, but that he gets like that little boost from some of these other guys. But he is right behind Damian Pierce for me. He's my RB6 for that reason. Maybe I'm thinking more fantasy wise than some people, but this is a guy that's going to get in the field, plain and simple.
My hot take is that he's going to get drafted before Kyron because of that long speed and that athleticism.
He could, but we'll see. We'll see. They really have some of the same concerns.
Yeah.
And then the only thing I think Kyron's elusive. I don't think Cook is necessarily elusive.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that was because he didn't have to be, though. Like, that's some of the concerns I have I think he was just so fast that he just outran people, and he didn't have to be in a phone booth elusive or anything. He was just gone. So
and he's a strong runner for a guy his frame. I found that impressive. He might not break every tackle, but he's at least gonna like get into you and get an extra yard or two, which is valuable for a guy that size. So, okay. So I'm just gonna run through the rest of my list. So at number 6, I have Rashad White. Rashad White was at the Senior Bowl. He is a really good pass catching running back. I think there's a chance that he splits out wide and in a slot role at the next level. Weird frame, 6 foot, just over 200 pounds. I think that's going to play a part in where he gets drafted. Randy, where do you have Rashad?
Rashad. I have him at 7.
Yeah. Okay. So any thoughts on Rashad?
I think you covered the general basis for him. He's another guy that I think just has a role fit into him right away.
Yeah.
Some of the same kind of concerns and traits I think we had with Gibson to some extent coming in to the draft, and that's part of the reason Gibson was kind of overhyped as well to start. I think he's kind of lived up to at least most of that hype right now, but we'll see if White can.
Yeah, for sure. Then I went with, so my 7 is Tyler Beatty. I like Tyler Beatty more than this, but he's a small little boy, and Randy knows that I hate all the small guys. So I knocked him in my scale. I did, and I did a tiered knock, which I might revise. I don't know how I feel about it. Randy yelled at me, and I'm thinking about changing. So, but Tyler Beatty, really good pass catching back, but also showed that he could carry the load in the SEC. Very similar prospect to Kyron Williams, in my opinion, except I think he's got a little more juice to him. I think he's got a little bit more long speed, similar to James Cook. These 3 guys are like the same player, except they have just 1 or 2 different things that kind of separate them, I guess.
Yep.
Then my 10, who is your 11, is Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight. Bam Knight is a very fun player because when I watched him in 2020, he was a more of a tackle breaking type of guy, really, really big contact balance guy. He was a guy I said, oh, this guy might have a Javonte level rise. He didn't do that, unfortunately. But what I did see out of his 2021 film was a little bit more elusiveness and a little more wiggle to him. I think that he has the ability to carry the load for some running back room. His measurables, he comes in at 5'11", 210, and that's perfect size for a running back. I think that matters, so he snuck into my 10. So
5 pounds more. Yeah, I really like Zonovan Knight's film. He really stood out for me. It's just pure number wise, he just didn't catch up to the rest of the class. He's got some little problems here. He's not. I wish he was a better pass catcher. I wish he was a little bit more patient and used good patience and elusiveness. But like you said, I think he had the potential to really have that rise, and he just didn't get there. But him as well as Algiere, for me, are 2 guys that I think could really stand out real quick here, and then also have a chance to be like those steals in the 3rd round that you pick in your fantasy like rookie drafts that have a shot to have a real role, a full role at the next level. Maybe it takes an injury, maybe it doesn't. Who cares? However it happens, it doesn't matter as long as it happens, and I think they have a chance at that.
Yeah. Who's your 10, Randy?
Yeah. So my 10 is Sincere McCormick, a guy that me and you talked about going into the year and talked about a lot during the year, and I kind of wish he was a little bit higher for me. It was a little disappointing when I got done with the grading, unfortunately, because
I agree.
And he's a little bit smaller too. I think we got that kind of thing with a lot of these guys, but he, for the smaller guys, is probably the best with the contact balance stuff. And I think it's because he was used as like this entire workhorse scenario, but also he's one of the worst hands of the smallest guys, and that's still giving him a really good grade for it. It's just the other guys are better at it, unfortunately. But he's a very good back. I think he's strange for me because I don't think he's like bursty short area stuff, but I also gave him like the second or third highest long speed grade because he breaks away so often. And I think a lot of it might be level of competition.
Right.
But even then, even if I give him a half point, maybe he drops to 11 or for me. Maybe Knight gets ahead of him then. But at that point, I'm just picking random shit to bitch about, and I'm not doing that.
I do that. So
I know you do.
enough for both of us.
Goddamn Devi shit. You have to talk about him for too many years. You're
I
pissed
know.
off at him.
That's true. No, so
honestly,
he's my 13, I wanted to say too.
Yeah. So he would be tied with Rashad White for me, just on regular grades, but production grade, he sucks. He's like the lowest of the class that I have graded.
Yeah,
which literally just cuts his legs out from under him. Unfortunately, when we're in this grading scale, which has definitely worked for us, so I'm not changing the goddamn thing. But I wish I could, because I wish he was higher.
Which might sound weird. Samir Mccormick was ultra productive in terms of like the counting stats and the volume stats, but that's not what makes up most of our production grade, and we might get into that someday. Not tonight though. We don't have time.
No.
But I'll tell you, our production grade, especially for running backs, is not just yards. And he gets a lot of yards, but he also averages like 3 or 4 a carry. At a lower level. Team.
Yeah. I kind of wish he would have transferred, but it's whatever. I'll finish off Samir White at 12, Jerome Ford at 13. I think both those guys could do a 1A, 1B situation at the next level. And then finished off with full grading, number 14, Brian Robertson Jr., a guy that I think is way too high at a lot of people's boards because of the helmet.
Yep.
I don't think he's that athletic. I don't think he's that talented. I think he's going to be in the NFL for the next 6 to 10 years, but he's not going to be a starter.
I'm with you there. I think he's a perfect RB3 or a guy that, like, if you need a goal line carry, sure.
He's rotational back. Yeah. There's a reason. Now, again, they're great backs before him, but there's a reason he had to wait to get this turn. And then he didn't. I don't think he killed it.
No, and he's 24. Like, he'll be 20. Like, he's old. He's as old as Josh Jacobs, who was at Alabama 4 years ago. Like,
which means crazy. he has to be drafted to get work right away, and then he has roughly 2 to 6 years of quote unquote mattering as a running back. And frankly, once you get past about 28 for a running back, unless you're a top end guy, people don't really give a shit about you as a starting role kind of thing. So I don't see a bright future for Robinson, and that's why he's going to be way down my board.
Yeah. All right, I'll finish mine off as well. Keontae Ingram, the running back out of USC, good pass catcher, good footwork, really fun player. Kennedy Brooks surprisingly made my list. Surprisingly to me, like when I went into Kennedy Brooks' film, I did not think that he would make any of these lists. Good player, just a not very athletic kid that is very, very technical. He does a lot of things well. I think some team is going to be really happy. He's a day 3 pick, though, probably. Then Sincere McCormick. Snoop Connor, if he had a higher production grade, he'd be way up there, but he split time with Jerry and Neely and Parrish Jr. Snoop Connor is a really, really bursty guy and one of the few players that has legit long speed. So I think some team's going to like him. I know Lance Erline was super on to Snoop Connor. Right behind Snoop, I have Jerry Neely, his former teammate. Ely, Kevin, Jeff, and I talk in our group chat for the Debbie Royale. And there's a lot of jokes about Ely going around, but I think Ely's going to find a pass-catching role at the next level. He's really small, though, 185. So Randy knows I hate him. That's why he's 15.
But he's actually small.
He is. He's really small. Then Ty Chandler, another guy that does a lot of things well. I'm not sure that his running style really translates to his size and kind of what his role might be, but he's a good pass catcher. He's a good pass blocker. He's a good between the tackles runner, and he can get outside a little bit. So a good player. Then I have Jerome Ford and Zamir White. So those are some commonalities between our two lists. Jerome Ford, if he runs a 4.3, I will eat a raw egg on this show. I won't do that. I'm sorry.
Oh,
but
nope. It's already out there.
it is out there. Someone can snip it.
You'd really be. I mean, I'd be shocked if it's a 4-3, but like, what are you like?
4-4-8 is what I would guess.
I think like 4-4-5, 4-4-6 to 4-5 earlies is where I have most of these guys. And then like I think Pierce might be a little bit below that. That's why he's a little bit lower grade. I think like James Cook can get above that. So I think that's what like certain stuff like that's what I was trying to get these grades at. But that's why the athleticism grade is one of the ones that are actually like somewhat movable. Like obviously, just because if one of these guys runs a 4-4 flat, we're not going to change it 2 grades.
Right.
We might not even change it 1, but like it's something we'll at least double check ourselves on.
Yeah, I will say I think Samir White's going to surprise people with how fast he runs because he was one of the best athletes in America at one time. He did have a couple of ACL injuries, but he showed some of that burst again back into 2020 and through 2021. This podcast apparently is a Zamir White is better than Brian Robinson podcast, and I like being on the right side of history. So,
he's one of the guys I'm curious where he's gonna not only measure like speed wise, but just measurables because he's at like the threshold for most things. 6 foot 215. Does he come in a little bit shorter than 6, and does he drop 5 to 7 pounds to run faster? To tick too many boxes the wrong way? So he's got some moving he could do, but we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that'll do it. I've got a longer list, but I'm not going to go through every running back that I've graded because it's over 30 at this point. So if you are curious, you can hit me up at C Williams NFL. You can always hit us both up. Randy's is at R Hall NFL. We love talking ball. We love talking football. So just hit us up on Twitter. Also at the Cut FFB, follow us there. That's where these stream. Randy, do you want to announce what team we're doing Friday?
Yeah, we after a lot of kind of deliberating because fuck the Panthers, we don't want to do that team right now. At least after the combine, let's get through some more quarterback measurements and stuff. But especially with the news today that they're dead set on taking a tackle, which smoke season as well as draft season as always. So we'll see on that. But we are doing the Dolphins. Not a lot of draft capital, but all the cap. They have the most cap in the league. And a new coach, possibly new philosophy on offense. So there's a lot to go through with that kind of team. And it's just more exciting. I think we might do a couple teams like that have some of the cap room, but not necessarily high draft capital for the next week or so, or 2 weeks, whatever it is, because the actual free agency starts right after the combine, right after it. So, we only have a couple more of that, so might as well get through these teams that have the cap room now and hopefully guess right.
That would be good. That would be nice that we could go back and snip it and say, hire us.
Going back, I don't know if it was all of us because there's 3 of us for it, but I know for the Browns one for sure, 90% of what I said happened.
That was pretty crazy.
It was awkward. I was like, hey, let's go. But that's what I mean. When we did our draft competition, I did win that, so I guess it shows a lot.
This fucking guy. All right.
I haven't bragged about that in like 9 months. Let me be.
I know. That's true. On that note, though, it's time to go. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, make sure you subscribe. If you want to leave us a review, that would be much appreciated. 4 or 5 stars, please. If we're a 1-star podcast, just DM us and tell us why, but leave the 4 or 5 stars. Again, we'll be back on Friday for the Friday Fix. And like Randy alluded to earlier in the episode, we will be doing a mock draft on Monday after doing some of the combine wrap up, which is going to be fun. Everyone go watch the combine. Even if it doesn't matter a whole lot, it does matter a little bit, and it's fun. It's fun to get excited about all these guys. So anything else to add, Randy?
Nope. Can't wait for this combine. Let's get through it all.
Yes. All right. For Randy Hall, I'm Christian Williams. We'll talk to you guys on Friday. Later.